Ever get that feeling? Like a little buzz in the back of your head. That worry that you're not quite doing enough.
Oh, yeah. I know exactly what you mean.
It's like this constant balancing act. Being a good parent, but also, just being you.
Totally. It's a struggle so many of us deal with.
Family life pulling you one way, your own need to grow pulling you another. It can feel like a real tug of war sometimes.
Right. Sometimes it feels less like balancing and more like juggling chainsaws, honestly.
Uh-huh, yeah. And to really dig into this, we've been listening to an episode of the Parenting Journeys
Oh,
podcast.
I like that one. They always have interesting guests.
Right. They had a parenting expert on, and they were talking about this very thing, how to find that balance.
Sounds fascinating.
So our deep dive today is all about unpacking their conversation, pulling out the most useful tips and insights, so we can all walk away with a better grasp on this whole parenting and self thing.
And hopefully feel a little less like we're going to drop all the balls, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Less juggling chainsaws, more like, I don't know, riding a unicycle, something a little more manageable.
Okay, I like that analogy better.
So one of the first things that really jumped out at me was the expert talking about self-care and how important that is.
Yeah, self-care, it's one of those things that's easy to say, but harder to actually, do.
Right. Especially when you're in the thick of it with little kids, it can feel almost, I don't know, selfish.
Oh, absolutely. Like you're supposed to be giving every ounce of yourself to your kids.
Yeah. But what the expert was saying, and this was really interesting, is that they didn't always think this way. Like they used to feel guilty about even the idea of taking time for themselves.
So what changed?
Well, they had this big realization that taking care of yourself actually makes you a better parent.
Okay. I can see that.
Right. Like if you're constantly running on fumes, you're not going to be the best version of yourself for your kids.
No, definitely not. You just get burned out.
Exactly. You're less patient, less present. It impacts everything.
And it's not just about patience. I think when you're taking care of yourself, you're also modeling good behavior for your kids.
That's such a good point. You're showing them that it's okay to have needs and to take care of themselves.
Yeah. And that taking care of themselves will help them be better at everything else they do too, including being there for other people.
Exactly. It's like filling up your own cup so you can pour into theirs.
Oh, that.
But, easier said than done. I think a lot of parents struggle with that guilt. Like, how do you actually shift that mindset from feeling selfish to seeing self-care as essential?
Well, the expert in the podcast had a good way of putting it. They said that taking care of yourself, it's not about choosing yourself over your kids. It's realizing that your well-being directly impacts their well-being.
Yeah. I like that. It's like interconnected.
It is. Like you're not separate entities. You're a system. And
Yeah.
everyone needs to be healthy for the whole thing to work.
Okay, so that's the why. But what about the how? What were some of the things the expert actually suggested doing?
Well, they talked a lot about small, everyday things, like carving out just 10 minutes here and there.
10 minutes. That doesn't sound like much.
Right. But it can make a huge difference. The expert said even just taking 10 minutes to read a few pages of a book, or to step outside for some air, or just to have a cup of coffee in peace before the day starts.
Yeah, a quiet cup of coffee. That sounds like heaven.
Right. It can really help you reset and feel more centered.
And I guess those little moments add up over time.
They really do. And it's not just about those tiny breaks. They also talked about scheduling in some longer breaks, especially on weekends, even if it's just for an hour or two.
Oh, yeah, like a little solo errand run.
Exactly. Or maybe taking some time to do a hobby, something just for you.
So it's not like you need to book a week at a spa or anything.
Right, although that does sound nice. But it's more about finding those little pockets of time throughout the week.
And being intentional about using them to recharge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because even those small moments, they can make a big difference in your overall well-being.
And your ability to handle, all the parenting stuff that comes your way.
Absolutely. And speaking of handling stuff, another thing the podcast talked about was work-life balance.
Oh, don't even get me started on work-life balance. It feels like a constant battle.
It really is, especially these days when work and home life are so blended together.
Right. It's like you're always on, always trying to juggle a million things at once.
And the expert in the podcast, they were very honest about how tricky it is.
They didn't sugarcoat it.
No. They basically said that finding perfect work-life balance, it's kind of a myth. Like you're not going to be able to do everything perfectly all the time.
Which is kind of freeing to hear, actually.
Right. Takes the pressure off a bit.
Yeah. Because I think there's this expectation, especially for parents, that you should be able to excel at work and be a perfect parent and have a perfect home life.
And do it all with a smile.
Exactly. But it's just not realistic.
And the expert talked about how they learned to let go of that expectation of perfection and instead focus on being flexible and prioritizing.
So what did that look like for them, practically speaking?
Well, they said they really had to make a conscious effort to put their family and their well-being first, even if it meant that work stuff sometimes had to wait.
Yeah, that can be hard, especially if you're ambitious or you have a demanding job.
It is. But they said it was crucial for them to create those boundaries, to protect their time and energy.
So they were willing to say no to things or to push back on deadlines if it meant they could be more present for their family.
Exactly. And they said that ultimately it made them a better employee too, because when they were at work, they were more focused and productive.
Interesting. So it wasn't just about being a better parent, it was about being better overall.
Right. And they said it also helped them model healthy boundaries for their kids, to show them that it's okay to prioritize your own needs and to not be available all the time.
I love that. It's like a ripple effect.
Yeah, it is. It impacts everything.
So, okay, we've talked about self-care, work-life balance.
Yeah.
Another thing the Parenting Journeys expert mentioned was comparison and how dangerous that can be.
Oh, yeah. Comparison is the thief of joy, as they say.
So true. Especially these days with social media.
Right. It's like you're constantly bombarded with these picture-perfect versions of other people's lives.
And it's so easy to start feeling like you're not measuring up.
Absolutely. You see these beautiful families, these perfect homes, these kids who never seem to misbehave.
And meanwhile, you're over here struggling to get everyone dressed and out the door on time.
Haha, exactly. And the expert in the podcast, they really emphasized how important it is to remember that social media is just a highlight reel.
Yeah, it's not real life. It's like a curated version of reality.
Exactly. And they said that everyone, no matter how perfect they seem online, is dealing with their own struggles and challenges behind the scenes.
Oh, for sure. Everyone has their stuff.
Right. And the expert's advice was to really focus on your own family, your own values, your own unique journey.
Don't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20, as they say.
Exactly. And they said that when you can let go of that need to compare yourself to others, you free yourself up to really enjoy your own life, your own kids, your own parenting style.
So basically, focus on what works for you, not on what everyone else is doing.
Exactly. Because there's no one right way to parent. What works for one family might not work for another.
And that's okay.
It is.
Now, another big theme that came up in the podcast was support systems and how crucial they are for parents.
Oh, yeah. You can't do this parenting thing alone. It's too much.
Nope. You definitely need people in your corner.
And the expert talked about how support can come from so many different places.
Like where?
Well, first and foremost, they talked about the importance of a supportive partner, someone who shares the load, who you can communicate openly with, who you feel like really understands you.
Yeah, having a strong partnership, that seems like the foundation.
It is. It makes such a huge difference. But it's not just about your partner. They also talked about the importance of having friends who get it.
Other parents who've been through the same things.
Exactly. People who can offer advice, a listening ear, a shoulder to cry on.
Or just someone to laugh with about the crazy things your kids do.
Right, because sometimes you just need to know you're not alone in the trenches.
And the expert also mentioned professional support, like therapy or parenting groups.
Oh, yeah. Those can be so helpful.
Especially if you're feeling really overwhelmed or stuck.
Right. It can be so beneficial to talk to someone who's trained to help you navigate the challenges of parenting.
So for those of you listening, it's worth thinking about your own support system. Do you have people you can rely on? Are there any new connections you could make? Or maybe existing connections you could strengthen?
It's a good reminder to invest in those relationships because they're what help us get through the tough times.
And make the good times even better.
Totally.
Now, one last thing I wanted to touch on from the podcast. The expert talked about how your parenting style needs to change as your kids get older.
Oh, for sure. You can't parent a teenager the same way you parent a toddler.
Definitely not. The needs are different. The challenges are different. Everything's different.
And the expert said that as their kids got older, they had to really shift their approach. They had to learn to listen more, to give their kids more space, to respect their growing independence.
Yeah, it's that whole letting go thing, right?
It is. And it can be hard, but it's also really important.
Because you want your kids to become independent, confident adults.
Exactly. And the expert said that part of their role as a parent, as their kids got older, was to become more of a guide and less of a director.
So more like a mentor than a rule enforcer.
Right. And they said it was a constant process of learning and adapting, just like parenting in general, I guess.
So true. It's always evolving.
And that's what makes it so interesting and challenging and
Right.
rewarding.
Exactly.
So, as the Parenting Journeys episode was wrapping up, the expert gave one final piece of advice.
Ooh, I love a good takeaway. What was it?
They said, be kind to yourself.
Oh, I like that. It's simple, but so important.
Right. It's easy to get caught up in the pressure of trying to be the perfect parent. But the expert said it's crucial to remember that you're human. You're going to make mistakes. You're not going to get it right all the time.
And that's okay.
It is. They said it's important to give yourself grace, to lean on your support system, and to view each day as a fresh start.
So it's not about striving for perfection. It's about progress.
Exactly. And about recognizing that you're doing the best you can with what you have.
Which, at the end of the day, is all any of us can do.
Exactly.
Well, I think that's a great note to end on.
I agree.
So to recap, we talked about the importance of self-care, finding work-life balance, letting go of comparison, building strong support systems, and adapting your parenting style as your kids grow.
And most importantly, being kind to yourself along the way.
Yes, because parenting is a journey, not a destination. And it's okay to not have all the answers.
It's about learning and growing alongside your kids.
Exactly. And remember, you're not alone in this. There's a whole community of parents out there going through the same things.
So reach out, connect, ask for help when you need it, and give yourself a break every now and then. You deserve it.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So as you go about your day, think about one small act of kindness you can do for yourself. What's one thing you can do to recharge, to feel more balanced, to be the best version of yourself?
It doesn't have to be big. Even 10 minutes can make a difference.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe that one small act of kindness will have a ripple effect, making your whole day and maybe even your whole week just a little bit brighter.
Love it.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
See you then.